The Toronto International Film Festival hit the streets of Toronto from September 5th to 15th, giving movie buffs 11 days to celebrate everything from celebrity sightings, red carpet movie premieres, and film screenings galore. ANOKHI Magazine's arts and entertainment editor Matthew Currie was there for all the action. Today, Matthew joins us on ANOKHI Daily Spotlight TV to tell us about film highlights from this year's festival. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you're in Toronto for the Toronto International Film Festival, and it's such an exciting time of year. So many films, so many stars. How does it feel?
It feels great. It's a whirlwind, as
Yes.
always. A lot of films to see, a lot of people to talk to, but it's just so much fun.
So every year, the Toronto International Film Festival has a unique collection of South Asian films. Last year in 2012, TIFF had a special city-to-city program focusing on Mumbai, and this year they have a very unique and different roster of South Asian films. So let's start with the big one.
The big one is A Random Desi Romance.
Yes.
That is, of all the South Asian films at the festival, the most recognizably Bollywood. It has dance numbers, but it also has, it's also recognizably human. It's very grounded, and it features some very charming performances from Parineeti and Sushant. But they're also very naturalistic. It's got some very interesting things to say on love and marriage and whether or not one should necessarily lead to the other.
So not your typical big budget Bollywood film, yet enough song and dance and lots of color in life.
Absolutely, that's a good way of putting it. There's an independent spirit associated with the film, in addition to the big, larger-than-life feel-good elements.
So speaking of that independent spirit, let's talk about those Indian films this year that are independent films.
The most impressive film was The Lunchbox,
Yes.
starring Irrfan Khan.
Such a sweet movie too.
And as you know, it's been getting a lot of Oscar buzz at the various festivals it's premiered at, and it's totally deserving of that buzz. It's a very touching, it's a very bittersweet film featuring a lonely claims adjuster in Mumbai who strikes up a relationship with an equally lonely housewife via notes they exchange via his lunchbox.
So what is it about the Lunchbox that makes it so different?
It's uplifting, definitely. It's very touching, but it's also quite grounded. And when I spoke with the director at this year's festival, he mentioned that he was constantly saying on the set, we have to find a way to make this funny and sad.
And the director was Ritesh, Batra?
Yes.
Yes.
And he did that to perfection. It's amazing how you can go from one moment of this very harrowing look at loneliness, and then they turn on a dime, and all of a sudden there's a very infectious comic energy, and it leads to just a very rich experience. And everybody needs to check this film out.
Let's talk about some of those Hollywood films. Which are the ones that caught your attention?
Well, one of the films that really impressed me this year was Dallas Buyers Club.
With Matthew McConaughey?
With Matthew McConaughey. He is on a bit of a career resurgence, as you know, mainly doing romantic comedies.
Shirtless romantic comedies.
Shirtless romantic comedies. He's been on a really reestablishing his credibility as a serious actor, and this is perhaps his most interesting performance yet. He plays a real-life Texas electrician who in 1986 contracted HIV, and the film chronicles, he's given 30 days to live. The film chronicles his efforts to find treatment outside of the US by smuggling in non-toxic alternatives to the medication that's currently being pushed through by the FDA. It's garnering a lot of buzz for his performance, as well as a great supporting role by Jared Leto, playing a transgendered person who's also suffering from the disease. Another real-life story that's been garnering a lot of Oscar buzz is 12 Years a Slave. It's based on a memoir by a man named Solomon Northup, who was a free African-American man living in New York. The film has an all-star cast centered around Chiwetel Ejiofor, playing Solomon Northup. It also features Brad Pitt in a small supporting role. He also produced the film. And Paul Giamatti pops up, Benedict Cumberbatch, just a whole host of really great actors. It features these very brutal depictions of what this man went through, having his identity, his freedom stripped away from him. It was, during the screenings, there was a whole host of reactions. Some people actually got up and left because they just couldn't handle this harrowing depiction. This film is one we're going to be hearing a lot about, very heavily featured at the Oscars.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the show, Matt.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And for more of Matthew's thoughts about the films that premiered here at TIFF, you can read his movie reviews and catch more of our show at ANOKHImedia.com. And for more of Spotlight TV, you can also check out our YouTube channel, and don't forget to interact with us on Facebook and Twitter.